HCL Tech is the top Nifty gainer, up nearly 7%. The stock also pulls the rest of the IT sector higher after a largely in line fourth quarter. The company's full-year revenue guidance of 2 to 5% constant currency growth is higher than that given by peer companies. The order wins as well, buoying the stock up.
Sign TLM climbs close to 7% as the margins beat estimates in a good quarter. The management tells CNBC-TV18 the order book is likely to grow after the second quarter of next fiscal. They also clarify that in the past quarter, they got a one-time benefit which amounted to 250 basis points gain on the margin parameter.
Waaree Energies too surges on the back of its fourth quarter results. Revenues are higher by 36% from a year ago, while margins expanded by over 800 basis points, the stock surging 8.5%.
Havells slips close to around 3%, even as the quarter four numbers beat estimates. The commentary suggests that inflationary pressures are weighing on sentiment. The management also says that the cables and wire segment is experiencing volume growth challenges.
Chola Investment climbs after brokerage house UBS upgrades the stock to buy, raises the target to 1950 rupees a share, citing levers which can result in compounded AUM growth of over 25%.
Hello and welcome to Chartbusters. We're coming to you live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studio. I'm Nigel, and with me is Mangalam. Well, Mangalam, the markets are holding in the green, but it appears some kind of nervousness is creeping in. If you look at the Nifty as well, we've come off the top, and the Nifty Bank, which has led the way, that's come in for profit-taking, which means the tech index is taking center stage today.
Take that point, and with the kind of run that the Nifty Bank has seen, it is very well allowed a rest day. And that's exactly what's taking place. A bunch of, uncertainties that we're wading through in the very near future. What happens basically with the US overnight. More importantly, tomorrow is the expiry of April series as well. So those are a couple of things we'll be watching out for. But a couple of things, Nigel, really stood out for me. The way Rohit Sharma played in the previous MI versus CSK game. Today is another MI game. And the way the IT sector is coming back as well. You would want the IT sector to come back because it is a fair chunk on the index. Rohit Sharma struggling with form a bit and thereafter has made a comeback. Can the IT index do what Rohit Sharma has done? And Rohit Sharma's form in the past has been fairly sticky. Bad form sticks, good form also sticks. This is good form for the IT sector. Does it stick or not?
Well, that's right. I saw him in person a couple of days ago. He looked far happier as well. So those runs under your belt always bode well for you. Well, let's get in a technical check, though. We have Chandan Tapadia from Motilal Oswal Financial Services who joins us on the show. Hi, Chandan. Good morning and good to see you in. I hope you as well are scoring quite well. The runs under the belt, Chandan, but that would be more the gully cricket. How are you feeling about the Nifty? What would you advise? Take some money off the table. We've had such a good run. Or do you believe that this dip is a good buying opportunity?
Good morning, Nigel and Mangalam. Thanks for having me. And what a fantastic discussion about IPL and the Rohit Sharma. And I think when market corrects, it's good to talk about the cricket anomaly and understand that safeguard of the wicket is very important. And the good part is the Bank Nifty and Nifty was in form in last couple of days. We have seen a massive rally of 2,500 points in Nifty index and 6,000 points in Bank Nifty. After that, some sort of rest is required in the market. But the good part is we will continue to be with buy on decline stance. However, on daily chart, the index is forming a bearish engulfing kind of pattern or a bearish candle, which indicates some profit booking could be there. But I believe this will be the retracement of the rally of last 8 to 9 trading session. So as of now, I'll look for a decline which can take it towards 54,750. But that 54,750 could provide a buying zone. If someone has bought already, then some profit booking can be done to with the view that again declines could be bought and wait for some more profit booking. And talking about Nifty index, I believe 24,000 could act as a major support. So if you are already holding the position, then can do the trailing stop loss at 24,000. And finally, we have target of 24,444 in the Nifty index. So now talking about the stock specific, I believe, again, this will be the time where you need to align the selective sector and change the sector rotation. Earlier, we were quite bullish on the consumption in your sector, including BFSI. Most of the banking and financial names were doing well. But now we'll positive on Godrej CP as a first trade. Somehow the consumption theme and defensive bait has to be there in the system. Godrej CP has given a consolidation breakout of last 7-8 days. On the weekly chart, it has been forming the rounding bottom. So with support of 1235, one can buy for an upside target towards 1320. Second trading idea is the buy on LKM. So positive price pattern has been making higher tops, higher bottom from last 10 days. So with support of 5,050, one can look for an upside target towards 53.50 in the LKM.
All right, we take that point, Chandan. Alchem and Godrej Consumer, even though Godrej Consumer is doing well, just keep an eye out on the entire pharmaceutical pack as well. Chandan's spoken about Alchem. Just look at Sun Pharma. That's moved to the high point of trade. We're seeing some traction in names like Alembic Pharma, Glenmark Pharma, as well as Zydus Life as well. All these stocks making highs of today's trading session, which is reflected in the pharmaceutical index itself, which is up and above. But let's get you some ideas for profit coming in from our colleagues at Money Control Pro. Bharat Jinani today joins in with the stock.
With Royal Orchid Hotels Limited, the demand momentum continues to remain strong, with both corporate and leisure demand on a strong footing. The company is almost doubling its room inventory via the revenue share lease model, which would lead to significant revenue acceleration. Apart from this, the company is also adding inventory via the traditional management contract model. Apart from this, significant inventory renovations carried post-COVID-19 is expected to support the pricing growth. The industry upcycle is expected to sustain over the next few years. Demand is expected to remain strong, growing by 11% CAGR. The supply, while it is picking up, is expected to grow by 8% CAGR, trailing the demand. This is beneficial for hotel operators like Royal Orchid Hotels Limited. The company has a strong balance sheet with debt to equity of 0.4 times. Apart from this, significant cash flow generation would ensure that the company is able to meet the capex requirements via the internal accruals. The company has industry-leading return ratios in excess of 20%. At the current market price, stock is trading at an EV by EBITDA of 12.5 times FY26 projections. These stock valuations are attractive since they are at the lower end of the historical trading range, as well as amongst lowest in the listed peer space. Hence, we recommend investors to add the stock number.
All right, that's about Royal Orchid Hotels, the hospitality sector doing fairly well. We had the management join us last week as well. So good going on that one. Meanwhile, Intellect Design Arena from the broader markets is one of the stocks which has moved to the high point of trade. So IT, mid-cap IT doing a lot better as well. So just keep an eye out on all of that. In fact, there are a bunch of stocks that we will talk about after this short break. So stay tuned. Welcome back. We were talking about a bunch of stocks which are doing well. Just keep an eye out on Rajratan Wire. Good numbers coming in, a new foray. We had the management join us yesterday as well, speak about the growth plans for the company, exports increasing from current levels as well. All of that is reflected in another follow-up day for Rajratan Wires, up 14% today, taking this week's gain. Mind you, this is just this week, almost 3 trading sessions to 43%. So a big move is what we're seeing. The stock, although has seen a big correction from its highs, trying to make a bit of a recovery.
Well, that's right. You know, Mangalam, some of these stocks, they went to less than half, you know, when the markets corrected. But actually, not just for the company, but I think for the markets on the whole, when good numbers or good commentary is being appreciated,
yes,
that's a positive sign. You know, when you get into that phase when sometimes the market ignores any kind of good news as well, it makes you very uncomfortable. So actually, not for the company, but I'm saying for the market, the breadth of the market itself, which shows there is interest out there.
Totally, which is what, you know, when we were talking about the FMCG sector as well, is what is likely to play out. Results, they're not going to be good. Everyone knows that. But this time around, maybe the reaction to the results and management commentary would be a lot different than what we've seen earlier itself. And speaking about results and good performance, Waaree Energies is one of them. A big mover on the back of strong numbers coming in. Vivek joins in with more. The stock up nearly 8.5%. In fact, why just Waaree? We have a bunch of result reactions. And as you can see on your screen, there is Upasna, Abhishek and Vivek as well. Let's go to Vivek first. Vivek.
Well, today it's the power sector that's doing very well, so we'll start off with Waaree first. So first, you know, let's have a look at the numbers themselves. Q4 was expected to be strong, very strong, in line with what the street was anticipating, especially as far as the solar value chain is concerned. Revenues this particular quarter higher by 36% above the 4,000 crore mark. Along with that, EBITDA very strong this time around, strong execution, strong realization as well, higher by more than doubled in fact at 923 crore. Margins at 23%, 1,000 basis points jump, and profitability higher by 34%. Now the order book on a sequential basis has moderated slightly. Order book now stands at 25 gigawatt, which indicates that the revenue potential of close to 47,000 crore. At the end of the previous quarter, it was at 50,000 crore. But what is it that the street really likes? The street really likes the fact that the company has given an EBITDA guidance for FY26 of over 5,500 crores. So what does this mean? This means that the company can potentially double its EBITDA as far as FY26 is concerned. The other important part, remember, is that yesterday there was the development where the USA has gone ahead and put significant dumping duty on other Southeast Asian countries, including names like Cambodia, Vietnam, etc. So this makes the exports of wari to the US markets a lot more competitive, and analysts believe that this can also spur volumes going forward. On the back of that, last couple of days, wari has been in focus. Today, earnings plus this particular development keeping the stock quite buoyant.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Viv. Let's focus on another company that's reacting to its numbers, Cyient DLM. The company also reported a good quarter. Earlier today, we were joined by the management of the company. Upasana joins us to tell us the key highlights. Upasana?
Well, company has reported a good quarter this time around. Revenue, EBITDA and PAT was largely in line with the street estimates, while margin stood much above the street estimates. Now, coming to the numbers first, revenue saw a growth of about 18% on a one-year basis. EBITDA saw an uptick of as high as 51%, and margins also increased by 290 basis points at 13.4. Well, this increase in the margins was mainly driven due to change in the product mix of the company, one-off impact due to Altac acquisition and even operational efficiency. Now, PAT saw an uptick of 37%, and order book continues its downward trajectory around 1,900 crore with a downtick of 12% on a one-year basis and 11% sequentially. Now, management joined us today morning and the commentary remains quite upbeat. Management says that the 200 basis point impact on margins was due to one-off this quarter, and it expects a double-digit margin of around 10 to 12% going forward. Q1 FY26 is likely to be soft is what the management has indicated, but overall it remains positive on the outlook for FY26. It also says that the order book will reverse its downward trajectory and see an upward trajectory Q2 FY26 onwards. And lastly, on the revenue mix, the management has indicated that the revenue mix will remain stable going forward, with A&D, that is aerospace and defense, will increase at least by 5% its overall share, and a segment like industrial will rise going forward. So all in all, we are seeing good set of results and good commentary coming from Cyient DLM.
Right, Cyient DLM up around 5%, was up a lot more earlier in today's trading session, but the street is pricing itself for the one-off that was reported in the number as well. Good numbers nevertheless. M&M Finance, on the other hand, is trading with cuts after reporting subdued growth in the fourth quarter. The stock currently at the low point of trade, down 4%. Abhishek joins in to tell us more. Abhishek, what went wrong this time?
Well, Q4 FY25 has been weak for M&M Finance with respect to loan growth that's actually slowed down for them, as well as the fact that elevated provisions have dented the earnings momentum. So disbursal growth is weak at just 1.5% YOY and a decline of more than 5% on a sequential basis. So AM growth is the lowest that they have seen last 10 quarters, coming in at 17.4% YOY. The net interest margin also got impacted. It's at 15-quarter low of 6.5% versus 6.6% in the previous quarter. Their operating efficiency has deteriorated, and that is why you are seeing cost-to-income ratio being the highest in last 8 quarters, coming in at 44.2% versus 41.8% in the previous quarter. Provisions were elevated this time around, and hence you are seeing a dent in the ROA or return on asset. So return on asset is at 4-quarter low of 1.7% versus 2.8% in the previous quarter. The housing finance subsidiary also, gave a bad performance. They reported the highest ever quarterly loss that they have in any quarter. It has come in at 152 crore of net loss in Q4 FY25. Now, housing finance, the subsidiary also saw its loan book shrink, and the loan book is one of the lowest that you are seeing in last 5 quarters in absolute value. So the loan book is right now at 6,894 crore when compared to a little more than 7,000 crore in the previous quarter. Back to you.
All right, Abhishek, thanks for that. Well, let's move on and let's turn our attention to the ferrous space. Now, on the back of the imposition of 12% safeguard duty on steel imports, my colleague Abhimanyu Sharma caught up with the Steel Secretary, Sandeep Pondrik, to understand the rationale and also what it means for MSMEs. He also said that, the industry is pretty well placed as now. Let's hear out what the Steel Secretary had to say.
So, as you know, that government has to take a balanced view of the economy. Now, there are various sectors. Steel, as you know, is mostly used as a raw material and not as an end product. So government has to ensure that the prices of end products also don't rise too much. But at the same time, since India is growing and the consumption of steel is growing a lot, we need to augment our steel capacity. And to ensure that, we have to ensure that steel industry in the country has remunerative prices. We also have to keep in mind that about 45% of the steel capacity in the country belongs to secondary steel sector, which are all small units. So it's not that only big players are producing steel. So taking all of that into account, there was a quasi-judicial process conducted by DGTR. DGTR has recommended 12% provisionally, and government has accepted that for a period of 200 days. And then in the meanwhile, DGTR will finalize its findings and give its recommendations. Then government will take appropriate decision again. As far as MSMEs are concerned, the steel players or steel industry has already offered that they will give steel to MSMEs for export and for other purpose also if they come into certain criteria at export parity prices. So we are trying to also ensure that MSMEs are not impacted by this, any price rise.
While FTA review is a continuous process and the Ministry of Commerce and Industry is already undergoing that with several countries, and we understand the Steel Ministry has also given its set of recommendations. We also understand several DGTR probes are also underway with respect to complaints against several countries. What measures can we look at with respect to preventing dumping from several countries which have excess capacities, and also their supply has increased in the recent times due to lack of demand in the developed Western countries?
So basically, apart from safeguard duty, certain investigations are being undertaken by DGTR for dumping. So there are some applications have been filed with DGTR for anti-dumping investigations. DGTR has finalized, concluded its hearings in some cases. They will give its recommendations, he will give its recommendations, and government will take decision. We are also trying to ensure that whatever steel is imported, it adheres to BIS standards. So that's because we do not want that substandard steel or low quality steel is imported into the country at low cost, which will harm the domestic industry. So we are trying to bring most of the steel grades into BIS standards. So that only quality steel, even if it is imported, only quality steel comes. So there are various measures which the government is taking to ensure that domestic steel industry is not harmed by low-cost dumping of steel.
Well, on the same lines, we also spoke to Mr. Amarindu Prakash, who's the chairman of SAIL, and asked him if the safeguard duty relief was enough. He also discussed his outlook for the company in FY26. Let's hear out what he had to tell me.
It is a deliberated step in compliance with WTO norms. The industry has been looking for this for quite a long time, but the government has taken a step in the right direction. But I must say that this is a preliminary investigation result, and a provisional duty has been imposed. As the data is analyzed more critically and deeply, the government will be coming up with its final recommendations. So we have to wait for those numbers. We have announced a capex plan, which is going to take the capacity from 20 million ton to 35 million ton in next 5 years' time. The annual volume growth, we are targeting about 8% for the financial year 26. During the year FY25, we started FY25 at below 30,000 level. And FY25 end numbers are also below that. So that is under control as far as a tough year for the steel industry goes. Going forward, our total capex outlay is going to be upward of 1 lakh crore. However, with the kind of profitability and cash flows and monetization plans that we have, we hope to not exceed a number of debt equity ratio of 1.1 to 1.2 max.
All right, while we were speaking about steel and import duties, etc., there was news. This is coming in from Bloomberg, so obviously it's from agencies, not necessarily verified and confirmed by CNBC-TV18, but it's definitely having an impact on stock prices. The fact that the Indian government has mulled scrapping import duties on motorbikes more than 750cc, and in that, Harley-Davidson is the one where they're actually considering zero tariff on Harley-Davidson bike. Hero MotoCorp obviously not moving too much, in fact moving on the other side, which is positive because they already have a tie-up with Harley. So if they, are the authorized sellers for this bike in India or not is what, the street is pricing in right now with the stock price move. Remember, there's not verified information coming in from Bloomberg. But on the other hand, what it's seen as is a negative for other competitors, most notably Eicher Motors. So just look at the Eicher Motors intraday chart and you would see that as soon as this flash hit the screen, that stock saw a sharp knockdown, almost 2.5% lower. And now what remains to be seen is what happens to the third player, which is Bajaj Auto, which has a tie-up with Triumph. And everyone's looking at the higher-end bikes itself. Harley-Davidson coming to India at zero duty, over 750cc. But bikes, not my strength. Nigel, what do you make of it?
Well, that's right. So for Hero MotoCorp, it's a positive, as you said, because they have a tie-up with Harley. But I'll tell you what, for Eicher or for Bajaj, I don't think they'll be impacted.
Yes.
I'll tell you why, because the flash is mentioning 750cc.
Neither of them make it.
Neither of them make, the 750cc more than that. So as of now, I don't think they should be impacted. My hope is that the Royal Enfield comes up with a bigger bike. But as of now, the biggest bike that they have is a 650cc, which is the Interceptor.
Right.
So it's positive for Hero MotoCorp. But I think initially, we did see a cut on the Royal Enfield, which is Eicher Motors. And from the lows, actually, it's seen a bit of a bounce. So just keep an eye out on that. It's for 750cc plus. As of my knowledge, as of now, both those two, either Bajaj or Eicher, they don't make 750cc plus. So I think that's why we're seeing some bit of recovery on Eicher Motors as well from the low point of the day.
So that is an important technical specification that has come in. But a 1000cc bike, if that comes in, Nigel, you'd be a buyer, right?
I'll definitely be a buyer. I've said it in the past as well. We had the Machismo coming in from the Royal Enfield. I had that. The initial few bikes of the Interceptor, which is a 650cc. I'm a buyer on that. And if they come with a bigger one, boom.
All right, good. I can only say that any of those bikes that you buy, I'll just sit behind and take a round around.
Always.
But I don't know how to ride bikes. But have you, as you look at it, there has been a bigger spike on Hero MotoCorp and some amelioration from lows on names like Eicher Motors and Bajaj as well. Earlier, there was some fear, but now understanding that maybe these bikes won't get as impacted because it's more than 750cc news that has come in, and these companies do not perform or sell that as of now. The impact could be limited. But as we slip into a short break, let's give you some good news. That's the India's news leader, business news leader, is now just a click away. That's the CNBC-TV18 all-new app, which gives you instant access to breaking news, in-depth articles, financial world updates, all of them at your fingertips. All you got to do is download the app from either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, or you can just scan that QR code, which is there for you on the screen. Welcome back. You're watching us here on Chartbusters. There was tragic news that came in yesterday. At least 26 civilians, including 2 foreigners, were killed in a terror attack in Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir last evening. The Pakistan-based Resistance Front has claimed responsibility for this attack, which was the deadliest in this region in the last 6 years, at least since the 2019 Pulwama attacks. Following these attacks, Prime Minister Modi has cut short his visit to Saudi Arabia to return to India. Home Minister Amit Shah also headed to Srinagar straight, to take stock of the situation and paid respect to those who lost their lives in the attacks. And sources also tell CNBC-TV18 that the Cabinet Committee on Security is likely to meet at 11 a.m. shortly from now to decide on the course of action following these attacks. CNN News 18's Ishan Wani joins in with more.
CNN News 18 has reached Baisaran after trekking for several kilometers through muddy patches and tough terrain. We are right now at the spot to where this yesterday carnage took place, and you will see here the deployment is massive, and the NIA teams have arrived here to carry out further investigation to this case. Because a high-profile attack wherein 26 tourists were killed very brutally, and images from this place were very shocking. And their NIA team have arrived, they are investigating, and police is accompanying them. Now we are also told that there will be a Home Minister who will be arriving arriving at the scene and getting a first-hand account of how the situation looks like. But this is how the scene looks like. And now CNN News 18 team has reached here. We'll be bringing you minute-to-minute coverage from the ground in Baisaran, where this ghastly attack took place.
Okay, well, and in order to ease potential travel roadblocks following the attack, the Union Civil Aviation Minister yesterday spoke to Union Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah about arranging more flights from Srinagar to Delhi and Mumbai. The ministry has arranged 4 new flights, 2 each to Delhi and Mumbai from Srinagar, and will monitor fares to ensure that they don't spike. The ministry is also monitoring the situation and, based on demand, will be in touch with the airlines to do more. Okay, well, on that note, though, we'll wrap up on this edition of Chartbusters. You stay with us. Trading Hour comes up next.